Hi there, this is Kurt, Oscar November 7, Oscar Fox Fox, and let's continue with the series of the Hermes Lite from Zero to Hero. And today we'll go in depth on the front end and what all the different buttons means of your Thetis software. It might be interesting even if you are a advanced user, because I will probably touch different things that you might not know. So just bear with me. Obviously, the power button is what it's supposed to do. It's going to turn on and off the radio. Let me just quickly explain you the different sections. So this here has to do with the transmit. Okay, so has to do with everything that you need to know about TX or RX. Okay. I will come back to it in a few seconds. This is the volume control, these three buttons here. AGC is the automatic gain control. Very interesting, especially if you combine this with the noise reduction system. This has to do also with the AGC, so you can configure the AGC over here, the response. This is the squelch. This here has to do with frequency control, so you can, change the bands. Sorry, not the bands, but the VFO settings here. Here you got the two VFOs. This will change the step when you're tuning. Okay. And obviously this is the band control. You can find the mode control right here, the filter and receive, and this here has to do with everything that has to do with TX, transmit control. So, and again, this here has to do with filtering. Okay, now let me just very quickly go over the different ones. Monitor means that you can actually monitor your own voice. So if you have a headset and you want to listen to your own voice, you just enable it and you can monitor your own voice. If you want to control the volume of the monitor, you go to setup here. And let me just bring this to the top. There you go. Okay. There you go. So when you go to transmit, you will see here TXAF, and this is actually the volume level of your monitoring, your own signal monitoring. So it will set the AF right away, the master AF, to a specific level, and that's what you have and what you can configure over here. So if I have 50, okay, and I turn on the monitor and I go into MOX mode, you will see here 50 is appearing. So that means that it will put this audio level of your own voice to that particular level. I did modify before I actually started the recording my waterfall speed because I saw it was quite fast. So if you want to do that on yours, because if you have followed my previous video, maybe you'll see that the speed here is too fast on the waterfall. So go to setup, go to display, and then you go to RX, and here you can change the speed of the waterfall. So if I put it, probably what you will have is the speed that you see right here. So I just, in my opinion, I think 5 is perfect. And then you have a slower waterfall, and you can see the history on what's going on. So I prefer to have it a little bit slower. Tune will actually send a tone. So this is for tuning. So let me just turn down my power. I don't want to interfere with someone, but if I put the monitoring on and I turn on the volume a little bit, I think I have the volume of my computer turned down. So let me just increase the volume output. And I also have not engaged VAC. So if I want to engage VAC, one moment. So there you go. I will be able to actually listen, and if I click on tune, you can hear the tune, so it will send a tone. Two tone is a system where you have two different tones being sent, and if I monitor it, you can hear two tones. Okay. Be aware that in the previous video I explained you how to enable the spacebar of your keyboard to be a PTT toggle button. So if you press once, you go into TX mode, and when you press again, you go into RX mode. These two buttons here has to do with pure signaling. It activates the pure signaling. I will come back to this in a future video. Record and play. So what happens is that if you turn on record, it will record whatever happens on your receiver. And if you are into TX mode and you start to transmit, and then you click the REC button, it will record your voice for playback if you want to play it back. So for example, if you make a contact with somebody and you want to record their transmission, and then you want to play it back when you are in RX mode, you just click the record button and you just stop it at your will. And then you can go in, you have to manually PTT first, and then you click on play, and then it will play back the recording that you have made of the station. So you can play back their audio. So that's how you use it. Now, in case it's not working, go to wave. And when you go to wave, let me just show it to you because it's not displaying the wave controls. But when you are in wave, be sure that you have these settings here. Let me just go to this. There you go. So you will get this screen here, and copy my settings here. So be sure that you have 48,000 as a frame rate. And in the previous video, I explained you that all the different input and output devices of your computer should have 48,000 as a frame rate as well. Otherwise, there will be some compatibility issues and you will not be able to output or input the audio. So be careful that you actually have these settings in the correct way. Good, so this is the volume control, the master volume control, and the RX volume control. So here you can change the volumes. This is for the second receiver. You can engage the second receiver right here. I'm not doing it. It's for, you just go and experiment with it. This is the drive. Okay, I'm skipping AGC. Let me just explain you about AGC. This is automatic gain control, and the automatic gain control will filter out a lot of noise. So I can recommend you to actually right click it. So if you right click, you will see that the button becomes green and it will actually level automatically to the ground floor noise. Okay, so also be aware that it will automatically calculate if there's a lot of activity on the band. It will level it on the average of the entire band, what you have on the scope here. But if you zoom in, you can see it's at 64 right now. If you zoom in, there will be less activity and you will see it will start to level out. So it will go, and you see it was 64, now it's 67, 68, 69, because you actually level for a smaller piece of the band. So if you are on a very clear frequency, let me just go somewhere where there is very few activity, right here for example, and I go and zoom in, you will see that the AGC will level it and it will become much more sensitive. Okay, so it is bandwidth aware on your band adapter. Okay, you can also control the amount of dBs above the ground floor noise, and this is how you do it. You go to setup, and the setup is not displaying, so let me just make it display. So when you go to setup and you go to DSP and AGC ALC, this here is where you can actually define the shift in dBs on how much higher above the ground floor noise the AGC should be set. Okay, so here I have it at 13 dB. Let me put it at 10 dB, and you can hear that it becomes less or more noisy. Let me just do something. Wait a moment. Setup here. I'm going to move this a little bit to the right. So when you look at the AGC right here, okay, and I move this around, you can see that it will eventually start to change the level over here as well. So let me just put it, for example, okay, my mouse is playing up on me, but if I move this around, okay, you can see that what is happening here. Okay, it's going to adjust the level, how far above the ground floor noise it should put the AGC. Okay, the drive is going to be your output power. So this is the minimum. It's about 1/10 of the maximum power. So it's going to be around 200 to 500 milliwatts output. And this here, you can right click. And when you right click here, you actually will have the possibility to limit the output power. So if I put it right at 4 dB, for example, -4, okay, I just right click here and you can see there is a red arrow that appears. This will actually avoid, when you put the slider higher, to go above 4 dB of output power. So it can be interesting if you want to limit your power for specific reasons, amplifier, whatever. But you can reset it by turning the slider all to the right and then right click. And then there is no limit anymore. This is band sensitive. So if I put the settings at -3.5 dB here on 20 meter, I go to 15 meter, it won't be enabled here on 15 meter. If I go back to 20 meter, you will see it's enabled. So let me turn off the power output limit by just right clicking again, and then you are back in business. These are the different frequencies, the different bands. If I go to SWL, I can also go to other bands, also even 11 meters, for example. And if I go back to HF, you will have the HF bands. It also has VHF, but of course it does not make any sense because the Hermes Lite is only capable of going up to 38 megahertz, 38.4 to be more precise. WWV is actually is going to toggle between the different carriers. So you can see it right here. And then finally, if I go back to 20 meters, you will go back and it will automatically go to the last frequency you were tuned on 20 meters. Now be aware, there are different memory banks behind one band. So if I click again, you will see that it will go to a different memory bank. So if I click again, you see it goes to LSB. So you have, normally by default, out of the box, if you click different times, it will toggle between phone, CW, and digital. So be aware that if you are seeing that you're not in the right mode, it might be just because you are in the wrong memory bank of that band. Okay, so just by clicking again, it will shift, or it will toggle between the different memory banks. Okay, then we have the bandwidth here. Here you have the different bandwidth settings in receive. You can also, let me just go back to phone by clicking again. You can also configure the different bandwidths over here. So if I right click and I click on configure, it's not displaying, so hold on. You will be able to actually also configure the filter. So it will you will also be able to change these filter settings and personalize it to your taste. Okay, next thing is going to be the bandwidth. Over here you can manually change the bandwidth. You can see it on the pen adapter and the waterfall, what happens in the receive. The yellow line here refers to your TX bandwidth. So if I would change the TX bandwidth over here to 4000, for example, you will see that it shifts and it will open up over here as well. So if I change it here again, put 3000 and press enter, you can see that this has a effect on what's happening here on the pen adapter and the waterfall. If I go to 2.9 kilohertz, then I'm back in business, so I am back at 2.9. This here has to do with the microphone input, so you can shift this around. I explained this in a previous video where you can actually set up or you can check also the microphone levels. You can define also the minimum and the maximum. So here it's at minus 10 dB and the maximum is 20 dB if your microphone audio input is beyond the scope. So you need to go higher. You can define that. Go to setup. Okay. Go to transmit right here. And here you can define the settings of the transmit. So let me just give you an example. I want to have the possibility to go up to 30. Okay. And I don't need to go to minus 10 dB. So let me put it at 0. Okay. I just click on OK, and now you will see that this will shift from 0 to 30. Okay, so that's where you can define the maximum and the minimum of your microphone settings. If you turn it off, of course, you will not have any microphone input. Okay, so be aware of that. Compressor, this has to do with the compressor. Now, if you right click, you will go straight into the CFC. I don't know why, but it's a shortcut. So if I right click, you can see it will bring me to the CFC setup menu. Okay. This is the Vox. Again, if you right click, you will go straight to the Vox configuration settings in the setup menu. And the downward expander, I can enable it. And if I, for example, right click, you will also go straight to the setup menu of the downward expander. What is downward expander? If you have an amplifier and it's a noisy amplifier, the amplifier makes a lot of fan noise. You can enable this, and when you go silent and you don't say anything, you won't have like an output power. It will cut off the low level sound of the background noise in your room, and this is why the downward expander is an interesting feature also. Here you can go and enable split. If you right click here, it will bring you to the setup menu, and it will go right to the quick split that is over here. You can also copy this frequency to the VFOB by clicking here. Okay, and you can also toggle between the different bands. So if I would, for example, change the frequency here again, let me just go to 260, and I want to switch. I can switch between VFOB, VFOA, and this will actually bring the VFOB to VFOA. So there you go. I'm not going to talk about the qubit. It's not important. The RIT. So if you want to shift from the current frequency in receive or in transmit, you can do it by here. And if you change it and you want to revert back to 0, this little 0 button will bring it back Okay. And now let's talk about this one here, the pen fall. This is actually the display. So what you want to have displayed, I think very few people are going to change this, and I think the pen fall is actually the most popular one. Average has to do with the average. So if you have your, let me just unzoom, if you got the entire band and you want a very nice response time, you can eventually just, this is the average. You can define this as well somewhere in the software, but it's not important. Peak will actually change the pen adapter view, and you can see you only see the peaks. So I will turn it off. C-tune is interesting because if you go to zoom here, and if you turn this one off, it will work like this. And if you turn it on, it will work like this. Now, if you go to ZDB, it will normally automatically engage the C-tune. So there you go. Okay. So also you can change the pen adapter view and shift the frequency like this. If you go here on top, and here you can also just move it around. That's another possibility. If you right click in the pen adapter, it will give you a yellow line, and you can just quickly click, and it will automatically, you can see it here, it will automatically go to the tune step that you have defined over here. So if the tune step is like, let's say 5 kilohertz, okay, it will shift 5 kilohertz, sorry, 2.5 kilohertz, okay, so it will be 5. I will go back to 1 kilohertz here. So if I want to go back to the normal way of behavior, I can just right click again, and that yellow line disappears. Okay. And then the next thing I need to explain to you, I know it's a long video, I'm sorry about that. I try to go as fast as I can, but I prefer to give you all explanation in one go. I can also engage a lot of filters in Thetis, and the NR2 is the most impressive one. It really shines compared to other radios. So the filtering capabilities of the radio is just absolutely magnificent. Let me engage the VAC because it's turned off, so you will hear what's going on my receiver.
Are you still there?
Okay,
I think Dennis may have gotten
now
pulled
that's
away.
Kilo
He'll come
Echo
back.
5 Echo Echo.
Anybody else wishing to make a call or
Okay,
check
so
in? Over.
okay, when I go to another frequency, okay, where there's some activity.
You're 59, 73, 44.
Okay, so let me just right click the AGC again and manually position it. You hear that you have much more background noise. Okay, if I right click again, it will position the AGC so it's much more comfortable to listen. Now, if you combine the AGC with the NR2, you really have a very powerful filtering system here. So let me just click once, click once, click twice, and now NR2 is engaged. If you right click NR2, you can actually configure the NR2 settings right here. These are my settings right here. You can experiment with it. And you also have an AI version. So if you click on trained threshold, it will actually silence completely the frequency. I hear nothing anymore. I'm going to increase the volume, and you hear nothing. Only when there's something happening on the band, it will just pop up. So this is the AI, artificial intelligence, filtering capabilities of NR2. So to always go straight to it, you can right click, and when you right click, you get to this menu here. Let me just show it to you. It's very weird what's happening, but so here you can configure the entire NR2, and these are my settings here. I'm not sure if last time it came through, and this is the AI version. I am going to put it back to gamma. This is my preferred one, and let me just go back. ANF means notch filter. So if you have a carrier, you can just engage this button here, and it will filter out the carrier. I see there is a carrier over here. Let me just okay, so you have this carrier. There's one more over here. Try to find a nice strong carrier. Okay, this is a good one. And he's gone. The law of Murphy, I guess. Okay, so you have that little carrier, so ANF is going to filter out the carrier. Okay, good. Noise blanker doesn't need to give an explanation about this. Everybody knows what is a noise blanker, unless you have been living under a rock. SNB is a spectral noise blanker, so you have to experiment it. MUT means mute, so if I engage the mute button, it will mute my receive. BIN makes the audio output being transformed into a stereo audio output. And a very interesting feature also is the multi-tracking notch filter. If I right-click here, I recommend you to actually engage these two configurations here in the setup menu. The reason is because if you enable visual approximation, you will be able to see in your waterfall what has been filtered out. I am going to show this to you. Okay. Let me see if there's two stations that are close to each other. Okay, let me just take this as an example. I am going to open my bandwidth. I am going to zoom. Okay. And what I can do, I can filter out. So if I engage the MNF, you don't need to engage it. You can do it without engaging. You will see that there is something like this appearing. Now, let me just turn down the volume a little bit so you have my voice. And you can see that where I have this notch filter that appeared, that there is a hole in the waterfall. So here you can actually right-click. You can delete it. Let me delete it. Now it's without the notch filter. When I click again, okay, and now I can widen it. I can also reposition it, okay, and you can see everything is filtered out. So a very interesting feature. So you can put it as wide as you want and as small as you want. And if you want to quickly disengage, so disable it, you click on MNF here. The notch filter is still there. It's still there, but it is disabled when you turn it off here. So if you want to disable it or delete it, you right-click, click delete, and it will be deleted. You can have as many notch filters as you want, so you can have many. Everything is possible. So if you want to have different notch filters because you got QRM of splatter or whatever, the MNF, the multi-tracking notch filter, is really a very useful object or feature. Okay, I think I covered more or less everything. If you need more information in the comments, leave me some notes if you want me to cover certain things. I wish you 73s, and sorry for the long video, but there's a lot of things that needs to be explained about the Thetis software and the Hermes Lite. 73s, bye-bye.